Hey guys, happy Women's History Month. Last week, to celebrate International Women's Day, we sat down with some friends of ours at the Well Life Integrative Medicine Clinic. They're an IV infusion clinic / functional medicine clinic in Mandeville, and they're really awesome. They just opened in November. We wanted to kind of pick their brains about the state of medicine and health today in America, and it was a really fun conversation. So without further ado, here it is. I'm Jackie Hedich. I own Vivid Infusion and Wellness, obviously an IV clinic in town. And this is Emily Stratton, our nurse manager. She kind of runs the show here with Dr. Granger, who is not going to be on camera because he doesn't like this kind of thing. So why don't y'all introduce yourselves and then we'll kind of jump into it.
I'm Dr. Megan Gaddis. Whitney and I are co-owners of the Well Life Integrative Health.
Yep. And I am Whitney Nicholson. I am registered nurse alongside this wonderful physician here. And this is Kristen Gonzalez, and she just joined us just recently. And you can kind of.
So I just founded Functional Farm Day by KG. I am a registered pharmacist here in Mandeville. I recently got certified as a functional nutritionist, so I'm trying to develop a company that helps patients address their medications as well as their nutrition and combine the two in such a way to where food can help replace some of the medications that they're taking.
Yeah.
Sweet. I love that. So technically, I guess we're all in the same business. We're competitors-ish, even though we're in totally different markets. But I thought, like, in the spirit of March being international, or it's Women's History Month, and yesterday, March 8th, was International Women's Day. In the spirit of that, we're all women professionals, business owners. I know Dr. Gaddis is Megan because we went to high school together and we were cheerleaders. I was a cheerleader. Were you a cheerleader or dance?
We were in cheer. I was cheer too. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we both.
Was it that long ago?
I feel like blocked it all out.
Me too. I was like, gosh, those were the days. Yeah.
Just to touch on what you had said about being competitors and all that stuff, because we're like, and in fact, part of our business model is we feel like, especially in this realm of medicine, to look at like the root cause. Like, we're very passionate about collaborating with other businesses. I feel like there's room for us all. I think the biggest thing people fall into is like, almost like, getting into this competitive spirit, but we forget about the patients and like, they have free choice and it's all about their health. And, what one physician can do one thing and another physician has great qualities for them. And I feel like if you're truly putting the patient's health priority, there's room for us all. And if you're confident and you're very passionate about like how we're very passionate about what we do and the well-being for, our patients, they become our family. We're not worried about, how we're doing as a business, because we're putting them first and our relationship with them first. And I think it's very important to support one another. And I feel more reward in that. And if we're really doing what we need to do, if our heart's in the right place, the success is going to happen. It's going to fall into place. That is one big lesson that we've learned. When we're supporting one another and cheering each other on, oh my gosh, the collaboration, there's way more reward because we each have our own characteristics that help one another out.
I love that. I definitely feel the same way. One of my favorite quotes that I say here at the clinic is, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And I feel like that's integral in the way we work as a team, but also in business in general. And it's true, like, have become family and friends with our clients. We don't call them patients at Vivid, but our clients have just become so important to us, and we don't really think about the profit margins and all that stuff day to day. We see the good that we're doing in their lives, and it's just incredible. And like you said, there's room for so many more of us. And I think that medicine in general is kind of going in this direction as people want to have more core root cause fix themselves versus just medicate themselves all the time. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, like y'all's, mentality as far as health and wellness and how you see all of this going.
I think that's a good point, what you're saying. I honestly think COVID has a lot to do with that. Like I don't want to get into the whole COVID discussion, but people getting COVID vaccines and all of these things like that. Some people kind of getting put off from traditional medicine or like treatment and things like that, and wanting to just get to the cause of their symptoms or try to prevent rather than treat. So that's kind of where we focus. If a patient needs medicine, okay, that's okay. Or if it's a temporary thing for certain conditions, or we're not denying that there are issues that need medical treatment, but a lot of illnesses, diseases, cancers, and all those things can be prevented if we started and get off on the right foot, get your diet together, get your supplements together. We use testing and things like that to kind of figure out what your body may really need. And starting there is really more important.
Yeah, for sure. And just to speak a little bit about like my background, part of the reason why I jumped into this like realm of medicine and why I became passionate, because my own story, I got diagnosed with multiple autoimmune issues. I wasn't getting the answers that I needed. In fact, my nursing career, the majority of it was spent in immunodeficiency autoimmune world. And I was giving certain medications on a daily basis, and the exact medications I was getting, prescribed, and I wasn't comfortable with certain things, and I saw long-term effects. And I really dove into, wait, okay, like this is what I have, but what is causing it? We need to look at a holistic like lifestyle approach. And especially, you get certain blood work and then some of it's reflected normal. And a lot of times that doesn't give a full picture. It's just one snapshot in time. And you're not looking at a full scope. And that's a lot of like what we get passionate in is why, a lot of our consults, when we see our patients, they're at least an hour long, because there's no way that we can get a good picture in a 15 to 30 minute visit where how you are with your typical doctor's visits. And a lot of what we hear from our patients when we're sitting down with them, they say, this is the first time I'm actually able to like get everything out. And it becomes this relationship, and we're able to hear a full picture. And it could be 45 minutes into the consult, they'll randomly say something casually in a conversation, and it's a flag for us, and they don't even realize it was something that could have played a role in their journey of why it could have been a foundational issue. So giving us, that big of a time, we like to really take our time with the patients, which is different from your typical, doctor's visits. And a lot of people get confused of, like for our business model, why functional alternative medicine insurances don't really cover. It's because, we're really taking our time, and they're only gonna, there's restrictions when it comes to those visits and how many you're supposed to see. And you're not really able to develop a relationship and get to the history of what's causing a lot of their issues in the first place.
Right.
Yeah, we hear that a lot with our clients. They want to feel better, but whenever you go to your normal doctor, you get like 15 minutes with them, and there's no way that you're going to figure out what's really wrong. And I feel like medical doctors have been so separated. Like you have a head doctor and a neck doctor and a chin doctor, and like every inch of your body is a specialty, and they're not working together necessarily.
Yeah.
There's no comprehensive anything. Just like side note, my daughter actually yesterday or 2 days ago, finally, after a year and a half of weird symptoms, got diagnosed with celiac disease. And looking back, there were so many telltale signs that I should have been able to see, but because they're so random, we just now are diagnosing her. But she's only 6, so I have hope, and we're in the right industry to be able to treat her. So kind of
just think help you out with some diet tips.
Yeah.
We might be talking after this.
I guess my question would be, why does she have celiac? Yes, it is a gluten issue. However, why is it there in the first place? So I would encourage you to dig deeper and to find out, maybe there's underlying toxic overload going on. Maybe the liver is overburdened. And that's really where I would like to bring in more foods that are healing, that would help detox, help re-nourish a lot of the organs and clean everything out, and almost reset the system. And you can do a lot of that through healing foods. So That's kind of where I like to stay and stay away from, doctors want to put you on so many medications, and every time you have a side effect, they'll just, say, oh, here's another pill. And I feel patients need to be given those opportunities to decide for themselves. Okay, do I want to go the traditional route, or do I want to go more of a holistic alternative route? What is best for me and my family? How am I going to do this? And giving the patient the tools that they need to carry out those diet and lifestyle changes, those nutrient, deficiencies that need to be addressed. How do you cook for your family? I remember I have a similar story to Whitney. I got sick myself a couple years ago, and I remember going through the functional medicine, a doctor over here, and it was telling me, all these different things I had to be doing, and that I couldn't have all these different foods. Well, I found myself crying in the middle of the grocery aisle because I'm questioning, okay, everything that I can't have, now what can I have? So how do I feed myself? How do I feed my family? And how do we come together as a unit? And so I also want to bring up the point that when you are going through these changes, like your daughter having celiac, it's really important that you as a family come together and make changes together as a unit, because it'll encourage each other.
Yeah.
I basically threw away everything in my pantry this week, so we're starting over.
And that's a part of our heart and passion behind this, is developing that relationship, because we can have all the knowledge and know what to do, but if you're not having a relationship and accountability partner and somebody to keep you like motivated, and a lot of people are waiting on that motivation, but you're never going to be motivated to do these things. It's discipline and it's relationships with others and accountability that really helps. That's why, a lot of programs work, because the programs work not by necessarily what they're doing, but who they're partnered with. And that's, a big part of how we established how we operate here.
So I think a lot of people may get confused with like all the different types of medicine. You have traditional medicine, holistic, functional, integrative. How would you explain the difference so that the normal layperson would be able to identify where they might want to go?
I would say when you say traditional medicine, you're thinking, Western medicine, primary care, internal medicine,
allopathic,
like allopathic for that word, if you're looking for a certain term. But like what you typically would think of when you go to the doctor's office for a checkup, nothing to do with, treating with supplements or treating naturally, things like that. The words functional, integrative, holistic, I feel like they're pretty interchangeable. Looking at the whole body, whole life picture, making lifestyle changes, treating with supplements, herbals, botanical treatments, and things like that. That's typically what it refers to.
I would like to explain it too as think of a patient always asks me, well, what is exactly is functional? And I would say, I imagine a tree, and a tree is growing, and all of a sudden you have a sick or broken limb. And in conventional medicine, they're going to tell you to cut the limb off. And then eventually, that may resolve some problems in the, beginning. However, in long term, another branch grows and another, and they're all sick. So what happens? Do you cut off all the branches? And so in functional medicine, we instead go down to the roots of the tree and then look at not only the roots, but the soil that the roots are growing in. And we treat the soil and look at the nutrients in the soil that are feeding the roots to help the tree grow properly and bear fruit. So
it's a good analogy.
Yeah. Well, that is the symbol for functional medicine is the tree. And our part of the reason why we chose our logo too. Looking at the root cause, because the thing, with allopathic medicine, how we view medicine today, unfortunately, it puts people in a box and here's my symptoms. Well, all these diagnoses are man-made, right? Like you come up with, this is the symptoms that fit in this diagnosis, which in the autoimmune world, immunodeficiency, that's why you have multiple diagnoses, typically with patients, because a lot of it is rooted in inflammation. It's how your body exacerbates certain ways. Everybody is different. And our body is unique and it's wonderfully made, and it's even designed to heal and repair when you give it what it needs. And that's why my story, I was given all these prescriptions and I was like, let me hold off, literally changed my diet. And through years, obviously, of practice, trial and error, you really get to learn it. And it's not an overnight fix. But if you truly want healing and how your body was designed, optimally, this is how you get to it. And just literally change of diet and looking at different factors like my genetics that I never, put into place, looking at different alternative testing. And I'm like, oh, that's why I feel what I feel. I don't detox properly. I need additional antioxidants, or I need to look out more for these chemicals or this type of food. This is why I flare up. So, what I got diagnosed with, psoriatic arthritis, ankylosing spondylitis, gout, like all these things that I was exacerbating, flipped to 180 when I started to incorporate a more holistic diet, more whole foods, nutrient dense, incorporating more supplements that my body needed specific to me. And I was literally able to 180 my health and where I don't need the medication.
I like the analogy about the soil that you mentioned earlier,
Mm-hmm.
because it made me think of, our roots are exposed to like our environment. Everything in our environment really depletes us now too. And I'm so concerned with the over farming, and our food industry has become such a business, and we're turning over the soil so much. Our soil doesn't have nutrients anymore, so our food has less nutrients, so we're not getting what we need from our food. And so many illnesses and diseases are directly correlated with these micronutrient deficiencies and lack of what your body needs to function correctly. And we've just kind of become obsessed with that. We actually do our spectra cell micronutrient testing here, and it's so incredible to see how just getting your vitamins, minerals, antioxidant levels back up to normal ranges can really affect your health so much.
Agreed. But we were also talking earlier about keeping a varied diet is important, like trying to incorporate, all the colors of the rainbow on your plate, or, not all the colors, but, at least 4 or 5 of them.
More variety.
Yeah, variety. And that, we shouldn't just be focused on taking supplements like to take the place of foods. You really want to try to get the most nutrients as possible from what you're eating. And then, what you may be deficient in, or, genetically, some people may not absorb B vitamins because they may have issues with methylation or things that prevent them from absorbing certain things. So they have to take certain vitamins, but we should really kind of focus on getting our nutrients from whole foods.
Yes.
I was just going to touch on the B12 thing. I mentioned y'all, I saw that you had mentioned it in some of your supplements that you would recommend, and how a lot of people do come up B12 deficient. And I was going to bring in, from my perspective, yes, we can certainly put them on B12 supplements or B complexes. I would also encourage aloe vera. Aloe vera actually helps cleanse the colon and cleanses the appendix and helps the ileum, and out. That's where a lot of your B12 is stored and made. And so, just from a nutritionist side, bringing in targeted foods for specific conditions would be a great therapeutic way to help that patient.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I didn't even know you could eat aloe vera.
Yeah,
we recommend it a lot for health, constipation,
for acid reflux, and because all that is rooted in inflammation. You have an irritated gastric lining, and aloe vera helps suppress that inflammation and kind of get it where it can start absorbing what it needs to.
Pretty incredible. I think Emily and Dr. Granger put together our treatment plans for whenever we get the micronutrient results, and y'all focus a lot on food too, trying to tell them, maybe implement more grass-fed beef or whatever. In each individual nutrient has its own set of foods, and we try to kind of guide them that way too.
For sure. I know a lot of people roll their eyes when we think because you hear all this organic, it's become such a big thing, right? And people are like, organic, it's expensive, can't afford it. But on our end, we see, when we do these alternative testings and we see the chemical toxicity profiles that come back, and it is very detrimental to mitochondrial health, which has a lot to do with nervous system and nerve pain, brain fog, vision changes, ear ringing, all that has to do with nerve health, and mitochondria have a lot to do with that. And through the past couple of years, with everything that everybody's gone through with the viral load, it has really taken a hit. So more people are more sensitive these days. And, you know, you really have to consider what we're putting in and on our bodies. And, you know, the products we use, our skincare, everything, we see those test results of the toxicity levels that come back. And, you know, we see that it does make a big difference when you do think about these things. You are conscious, and obviously it can be overwhelming, but baby steps. And that's what we do. We work with patients to not make it as overwhelming, and it takes time. It's not an overnight thing, but it's just even making yourself more aware of that helps.
It's very unfortunate that organic has become like the fancy, expensive thing that everyone thinks is crazy, but that's how food was supposed to be.
Right.
And all the pesticides and everything that we put into our plants, that's terrible for us, and it's affecting our bodies. I saw a study the other day with these people that had ADD, I think, and the toxic load of the pesticides and all these patients with ADD was just crazy, and how it's affecting us. Being sick is so much more expensive down the road. Yes. So it's really hard. Like, you're either paying a lot up front for food, or you're paying a lot up front for your health care.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's a good way to put it. But people, I feel like a lot of it is just lack of education on these things, because, you know, people may grow up a certain way, and then that just gets passed down. Like, you go to the doctor, you know, when you have a problem, take your medicine, you know, like preventative treatment and focusing on diet, healthy diet, exercise, you know, supplementation is not something that's typically focused on. So it's just like a vicious cycle, you know.
Yeah, as a pharmacist, I still work at a retail setting a few days a week. And my biggest concern is I have so many patients that the list just of medicines just keep growing and growing and growing. And we have star ratings that from insurance companies, to where if those patients aren't filling their prescriptions in a timely manner on a regular basis, the pharmacy gets dinged. And, you know, I'm supposed to be calling them and forcing them to take their medicine when, well, I should be calling and talking to them about diet and lifestyle modifications to hopefully one day get them off their medicine.
Right.
And so there's a huge just disconnect between the left and the right hand. And so our patients are suffering. And so I think we all have a great opportunity to help them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely food and the pharmaceutical industries have become wealthy off of us being sick. And that is something very unfortunate. And I hope that there's a shift in all of our thinking. I'm a millennial, so I know I grew up in the time where it was processed food. My mom worked all the time, so I got home from school and I made Easy Mac and whatever, and it was just, that was how you lived. And I don't think we had any idea that it was even bad for us. It was just calories and you're feeding yourself. But hopefully as we progress a little bit, we can be more mindful, and, you know, some of that cost might be able to come down. I don't know, in an ideal world, I guess everyone would be able to afford to be healthy, but.
Right. And that's part of like what we do too, like walking with them and show them it doesn't have to be as complicated as, you know, everybody kind of makes it out to be. It doesn't, yes, it is more costly, but if you plan, you know, prep, it literally only takes 30 minutes to an hour a week to prep. And if you're coming in prepared, I actually spend less money because I know exactly what I need for each meal, and I plan it. And I know planning, like, yeah, the word planning seems like I don't even have time to plan, but how much time are you spending on your phone? Like, what you spend more time, that's your priority. Okay, well then your health really isn't your priority then. And it's when and it sounds harsh, but when you really sit back and analyze where your time is going throughout the day, where your money is going throughout the day, like, you're making somebody wealthy, you're making somebody better. Is that you? Like, is that your family? So it's just kind of like reanalyzing and just changing the way, you know, we're programmed to think, unfortunately.
Right. Well, and those mornings that you're stopping to get PJ's coffee, or you're, you know, stopping in the drive-through to grab lunch, or you're ordering lunch out, or you're ordering lunch or dinner for the whole family. I mean, every time you eat out, that adds up. And if you add that over a month's time, that bill is much higher than your actual grocery bill. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Spectratol is our like flagship test, but what do y'all do for your first time patient? How do you kind of get to the baseline?
So one of our favorites is our OAT test, organic acids. So they're byproducts. It's a urine test. So it's byproducts of our body's, waste system, which your urine is, part of your body's way to detox. So it looks at things that may affect a person's detox abilities. It looks at some nutritional deficiencies, gut health, if there's any overgrowth, colonization of bacteria, yeast, mold is a big one. Also looks at mitochondrial health, with mitochondria like our little powerhouses of our bodies. So a lot of things could be affecting that, not only toxicities, but people getting COVID. We're seeing a lot of mitochondrial dysfunction. And then based on those results, we'll tailor treatment protocols using supplements, detox supplements and botanicals, supplementing glutathione for detox. That's something that the patient needs. Also incorporating the IV nutrient therapy, like, a lot of these vitamins and things that we use are available in IV form, which is going to be the highest absorption. So yeah, I think the tests are just really beneficial to really get to the root cause of things and what may be causing them and the specific dysfunctions they're causing in patients. There's other ones that look at specifically for toxins released by mold, because the OAT test may or may not show if mold exposure is there, but the toxin is what really is going to be causing all the symptoms, the brain fog, the neurological symptoms, all of those types of things. So there's a specific test to test for mold toxin if people specifically are worried about that or know they've had mold exposure. And we have another test that tests for like non-metal toxins, like things like we were talking about, pesticides, all these chemicals that are in products that we're using daily, hair products, skin products, cleaning products, plastics. There's like over 100 different things that it tests for toxicity of. Also metal, there's like a heavy metal toxin test. What else? Genetics are a big one, because people may have issues, but it may be because of something genetic, like you're not absorbing a certain vitamins because of a genetic issue, or you're not detoxing well. You have all these symptoms because your body can't physically get rid of the toxins. Just like an everyday person may not have symptoms from eating a cheeseburger from McDonald's, but because your body can't detox all these artificial things that are in our food, and like beef or meat or things that are not healthy for you, like a normal person may be able to detox that well, but you can't because of genetics. So then we'll use those types of tests also to tailor certain supplement regimens, so that person can get what they need from supplements where their body is not producing it naturally.
And a big thing too, like just for the glutathione, why we also like the oat as well, because it'll show that glutathione deficiency. And then if you do a genetics testing and they show, oh, well, they have issues with production of glutathione, or maybe, how their body is making it, or different things. Sometimes with those patients, like we have glutathione IV, but sometimes with those patients who have difficulty creating the glutathione, you have to be a little bit more careful with the IV and doing it low and slow. And that's, a lot of times different like IV places. I know it's a big rule with glutathione and a sulfa allergy, to be careful with those. A lot of the research has around that. A lot of that has to do with the reason why those people tend to have that sulfa allergy is because they have an issue with glutathione production. I have a sulfa allergy, and I've also gotten glutathione IV. I just have to take it really low and slow. So it's just some of those things that we look at, because obviously glutathione, our body naturally makes it, but with genetic deletions, or maybe something over time we were exposed to that caused those DNA deletions, because obviously our genetics mutate all the time, depending on different toxins that could have maybe caused that. So we look at those different factors on how we even treat with glutathione. Sometimes, they may not be able to tolerate the IV, and we do liposomal by mouth. So those people with the sulfur allergy that are being told you can't get glutathione, that's not necessarily like 100% the reason why. It's just you have to be a little bit more careful on how you're getting it, or maybe look at another cofactor involved. Okay, the selenium and NAC in order, like the precursors for that. We kind of look at different avenues with that.
Yeah, Emily has a glutathione or sulfa allergy, so we've been avoiding the glutathione.
That's really good to know that maybe one day I can have something low and slow.
Yep. When I got the IV glutathione, it felt like my inflammation was big time flared up. It wasn't necessarily like an allergic reaction. It just, I was detoxing faster than my body because I have issues with producing the glutathione. So I just have to take it really low and slow.
Another sulfa allergy thing was the methionine in the MIC. I know a lot of places do lipo, B12 shots and whatnot. So we do avoid that for them as well. And we thought maybe the oral would be okay, but we trialed some oral as well. And I don't know, was it that made you break out?
I don't know. We were filming our commercial that day. I don't do well on film, obviously.
Maybe that's what it was.
And I think I was panicking.
And it might be genetically, you might just have issues, like you might be missing the enzyme with how your body processes the glutathione. So you just look at different ways and, you know, how your body absorbs it and processes it.
I know we wanted to talk about women's health a little bit specifically. I know that's like our big market here. Most of our clients that come in are women. So is there anything that you want to say about that, or?
We weren't. So one thing that I'm just thinking of is where before we started to talk, we were talking about, kind of ties back into supplements that we think were good for everyone. Liquid chlorophyll is one that we really like, not only for gut health and inflammation and detox, but it's a potent like hormone regulator, which, you know, especially for women who may have issues with like adrenal health, which can, of course, you know, for people who are not too familiar, adrenal glands produce cortisol, which can be elevated in stressful situations. And if that is, you know, sustained stress for too long, your cortisol levels can get depleted and cause all these symptoms that cause weight gain, especially abdominal fat, fatigue, hair loss, all these things. And then that in turn throws off your sex hormones like estrogens and testosterone. So that women may come to you with issues that they think are their hormones, just like, you know, their estrogen's off or something, but it is their hormones, but it really may be because of something else like their adrenal glands. So chlorophyll is a good supplement, just especially for women to take, because it helps with hormone regulation just naturally. Avoid,
I love that.
Issues.
I feel like almost every single woman that comes in has hormone issues or they feel out of whack. I have cortisol issues and my stress hormones. I'm always at a fight or flight feeling. So I'm definitely gonna look at chlorophyll.
Yes.
Magnesium too.
Magnesium,
Magnesium was
magnesium.
Magnesium glycinate is probably my go-to for everybody. Across the board, it helps with so many different things, and so, you know, involved in over 600 different enzyme pathways, and most of us are deficient in it, and we're not getting enough of it from our foods, and especially if you have a diet that's high in processed stuff, you're not getting the amount that you need. So I would say magnesium is a very good first line supplement for pretty much and safe for every patient. I even give it to my kids. I put magnesium citrate powder in my 3-year-old's juice in the morning, just so that to keep her regular. She has a ton of allergies that we're dealing with, and overall gut health. We're trying to detox her right now and just trying to get the inflammation down and try to keep her regular. And I find that especially for anybody dealing with constipation and anxiety levels too, magnesium is a great go-to for those things.
Yeah, one we've been using that we've done a lot of research with, it's magnesium bicarbonate, and it's a particular brand that we've been using. It's magnesium at its most natural state. It's like in its salt state, and it's more, we've been really targeting mitochondrial health lately, because that's literally like a source of a lot of people's issues, like post-COVID, like a lot of dormant viruses have been flaring up with all these immune stimulation, and it's really been attacking mitochondria, mold, all this stuff. So what we've researched about this particular magnesium really penetrates the cell membrane and gets into the mitochondria. And we really, it's one of those things because it's like its most natural state. People will take that orally and you can kind of build up to it. And it's not something that's so harsh on the stomach too. So we've been noticing a lot of help with that too.
I didn't realize when I was in high school biology, Miss Kurgan's class, that I would be using the word mitochondria so much. Like mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
Yeah.
I'm never going to use this, and now it's in our everyday conversation over here.
Literally. Yep.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming on so much, and I'm really excited about you guys. You just opened what, in January?
November. Yep.
November. That's crazy.
Yep.
Well, I see big things in the future for you guys. I'm really happy to see you guys succeed, and hopefully we can do this again in the future and kind of touch base.
Yes,
definitely.
for sure.
Sounds good.
Girl
Nice
power.
to meet you.
Girl power, happy Women's Month.
Yes, same to you guys.
Bye, guys. Bye.